operating income in terms of the financial statements. Let's calculate these numbers for Kroger. EBIT. I already have the financial statements available from my previous section. I'll post these for you guys when I post the lectures. Let's see. Operating profits, 396. Let's look at interest expense, 441. I can find out depreciation and other non-cash stuff from statement of cash flows. Let me see. These are all non-cash expenses. So that's about, that means times interest earned is 396, 441. So it's about 7. So if I'm a long-term creditor to Kroger, I don't have to worry about them being able to service their loan 7 times their interest, or CCR is it's 16. So I'm rather comfortable with it. And, given that Kroger is a rather profitable company, you didn't think that was going to be an issue anyways. But sometimes it will be. In terms of measures, we want higher numbers on the coverage ratios. As a creditors, I would be more comfortable with lower numbers on leverage ratios. Okay. Remember, leverage is debt stock, how much debt you have relative to your equity, and coverage ratios or your ability to service that debt. So you want the coverage high, that equity kind of stuff low. Of course, as a shareholder, you may actually want your debt equity a little bit higher, and we're going to come to that later. All right, let's talk about asset efficiency ratios. These are turnover type ratios. The most famous of these is the so-called inventory turnover. You take cost of revenue or cost of goods sold and divide it by inventory. I'm going to calculate it for Kroger only. I'll post the numbers. I'll post the spreadsheet for Walmart. You can calculate them yourself. I calculated them in the previous section, so I'm going to use them. But let's just get the cost of goods sold numbers. Remember, that's in the income statement, or as they call it, statement of operations, 116675. And inventory is in balance sheets. 94.14. So that number is close to 12 and a half. The interpretation of inventory turnover is uh, you effectively sell your inventory on average about 12 and a half times a year. Okay. Remember, these numbers, cost of goods sold numbers, are from 10Ks or they're annual. If I had gotten them from the 3-month 10Qs, that would have been a quarterly number. There is a related measure that is easier to interpret. It's called days sales in inventory. Assuming we're using annual income statements, 365 over inventory turnover, or it's 365 times inventory divided by cost of goods sold. So in this case, the interpretation of days sales and inventories, on average, how long does it take to sell our inventory? Okay, so it's about 30 days for Kroger. For Walmart, I calculated this number. It's about 40 days. Okay? That means it takes Walmart longer to sell its inventory, about 10 days. I mean, they're both pretty much grocery companies or retail stores, but Walmart has probably some more things like clothing and electronics and stuff and housewares. So it may not be that surprising that there's a little bit higher. They're not just doing food. Okay. This is kind of a measure of how good is my inventory management. If you're kind of doing so-called just-in-time inventory, that number should be relatively low. If you looked at, for example, Dell's number, that number I don't think is more than 15 days. Why? Because the way Dell operates, they get an order. Based on that order, uh, they send orders to their suppliers. They put the thing together, they ship it, and they sell. Remember, if inventory stays on your shelves a longer time, it is more costly. Why? You spent the money to produce that inventory. You need to fund that money. So you want inventory turnover to be high. You want day sales to be low. Okay. The higher is inventory turnover, the more efficient is your inventory system.